another man who's very, very qualified. The next senator from Nebraska, David Domina, folks. Give it up.
Thank you. I'm going to try to talk to you from here for a little bit, and I want to recognize a long-term, long-time public servant who's in the audience, who you might not immediately know by name because this person never held elective office. And while this person was a public servant for many years at the highest level of the highest quality, his responsibilities precluded attendance at events like this. And that's United States Magistrate Judge retired David Peaster. This is the third time I've spoken in this room since I started flirting with the idea of running for the Senate. The first time, I wasn't in yet, and I was scared to death at the Federal Election Commission, and I didn't say much. The second time, I talked a little bit about my ideas and my motivations and why I thought I wanted in the race. Today, I want to talk about why I believe Nebraskans do not want a person other than one who happens to be in this room today to serve in the United States Senate starting in January of 2015. How many of you remember a United States Senator who said of Exxon Oil Company, "Don't confuse me with them, they're the double-cross guys." All right. Now, I want to just say that my last name is in the United States Department of Justice motto. But don't confuse me with those guys in the last couple of administrations, because I would have put the bankers in jail. And I'm pretty sure that the people of Nebraska do not want to reward the bankers who brought us 2008 and 2009 by giving them control of Social Security. And that's one of the reasons I'm highly confident that the people of Nebraska are not interested in someone serving in the United States Senate who isn't in this room today, because the other choice wants to make that reward. I'm also pretty sure that people in the state do not want to reward the insurance industry, which would not voluntarily pay out at least 80% of its premiums until there was a law passed that required it, and would not extend coverage to people with pre-existing conditions, and would bump them up against a lifetime limit, time after time and year after year and death after death, until a law came along. I'm pretty sure the people of this state do not want to reward those insurance companies with a voucher system for Medicare. But that's what my opponent wants. And as a veteran, I'm pretty sure the veterans and their families in the United States do not want to balance the budget of the United States on the backs of our veterans by cutting their pensions. But my opponent favors the Ryan budget. Now, can he be beat? 16 hours ago, I was in Banner County, which is unincorporated. It is the only county in the state without an incorporated city or village. There were 4,000 people in the county yesterday, probably more than any other day in the history of Banner County. County seat is Harrisburg, unincorporated population about 130. One of my relatives lives there. We try to get out of the way. Here's my point. Yesterday, people in sustainable agriculture who would identify themselves with pride as Democrats, and people with 80,000 head of cattle on feed who would identify themselves proudly as Republicans were perfectly willing and eager to say to me, we can't have Ben Sass in the United States Senate. And as we walked around that crowd yesterday with me being chaperoned like we were sandburrs stuck together with a prominent businessman in the Panhandle who was an active Republican and was a max-out contributor to one of the unsuccessful Republican candidates, who was saying time after time, when X didn't make it, I needed a new candidate, and this guy is my guy. We were making some progress. Now, we know some things in addition to what I've just said about Mr. Sass. There are many, many reasons to be activated and vibrant in this campaign that are focused on negative things about Mr. Sass. He has a core set of values with which virtually no one in this room and very few people in this state can identify. A core set of values. We need to have a positive reason to advance a set of values that is at our core. It starts with this. Today, no one who entered this room was required to complete a checklist of issues. No one who entered this room was required to sign on to a philosophy. And each person in this room has room to disagree with all but one common thing that the chairman of the Lancaster Party asked, didn't tell us, asked us to do. And that was to pledge allegiance to that. In order to get the work of that done, there are lots and lots and lots of solutions to our big problems. We have to choose a good one and move on. It's not about getting all our way. It's about getting as much as we can, making the best of it, and moving on, and not voting to repeal and repeal and repeal when we don't like it. And it's about calling out the other side when instead of trying to move on, they try to freeze us up so that our country can't advance and our society is caught in a dialogue that we can't endure, and we have to move on from that, and we can. But we can only do it if we start by putting aside whatever little differences we have in this room and expanding that setting aside outside this room as much as we can, and recognizing that what we're talking about in 2014 is not just one United States Senate seat in Nebraska. It's the effect of that one seat on a new senator in South Dakota, a new senator in Iowa, a set of 32 elected or re-elected United States senators, the ability to build a consensus across partisan lines and make a difference. And that difference can go this far. Chuck, what the Congress of the United States does can limit your options as governor or expand them. We want to be sure that the United States Senate is going to give Governor Hasbrook the room he needs to do what he needs to do for the people of Nebraska and not hem him in. But if they get a chance to hem him in because they don't like the outcome of the election, we all know they will unless we control the Congress. We must control the Congress. The other thing we're doing in 2014 is setting the table for 2016. We're setting the table for 2016. We cannot forget that for one moment. There has never been a time before in Nebraska history when a nominee of a major political party for the office of governor has run against a candidate with more personal wealth. And I will say this, there is one time that somebody has spent more than $11 million in a losing cause, and that's the time each season when somebody manages the Chicago Cubs. The Governor Hasbrook, that was an addition, that was not a correction. All right, now, here's what I would like to ask you to do. I've heard Vince Powers give this conversation in other conventions. Start believing we can win. Stop apologizing for being Democrats. Stop leading with our chin. Let's be really, really smart about who we are and what we are. We will not win the governor's office because our candidate is a Democrat and we are. We can only win because we're smarter than the other side. We know our candidate is smarter. And we know that our candidate is closer to the pulse of the people of this state. I think that's true of me in the race for the United States Senate too. I think we can win those two offices. I think the malcontent with the Republican nominees is just starting to appear. And the acceptability of the values of the people in this room as mainstream Nebraska values is just starting to emerge. It needs a little nudge every day for the next 145 days. So my challenge to you is give it a nudge. Believe we can win. Do not lose these elections in our own minds. Let's go win them.